Modern Warrior Cats fans do not know how good they have it. In the old days, there was no official Warrior Cats merch. Instead, fans had to rely on drop-shipped merch, which may or may not have been stolen from an artist. The Dark Ages ended just a few years ago, when the Warrior Cats website was updated, bringing with it a merch store. The merch store was fully stocked with everything from t-shirts and jackets to action figures and plushies. However, not everything on the site is high quality. Or maybe it is and was just made using someone's terrible ideal of what is tasteful. Today, I'm ranking strange pieces of official Warrior Cats merch on a scale of S to F. Before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post Wings Fire and Warrior Cats content so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. I also want to disclose that I have not purchased the majority of what is featured in this video. I choose to spend my money on other things like impulsively buying Hot Topic clothes off of eBay. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. This video won't go over every piece of merchandise that the Aarons have ever put out or even everything on the website because that would take forever. But I hope you enjoy what I've chosen to feature. Anyways, let's start off this video with one of the most popular pieces of merchandise that the Warrior Cats website offers by far, the plushies. Specifically, the old plushies. I feel like the old plushies are very hit or miss when it comes to designs. The most recent set of plushies features Froston, Hawk Frost, and Dovewing. Dovewing looks like she's looking in two different directions. Froston's design isn't my favorite, but I like the scar. Hawk Frost is probably the best looking of the three, until you look at the ears. I have to admire the producers for experimenting with fur types at the very least. Maple Shade has a fur type different from the rest of the plushies that makes her look very scrungly and huggable. The worst part of the old plushies by far has to be the muzzle shapes. The muzzles are shaped incredibly squarely, which doesn't work the best for the female characters in my opinion. The dots on the muzzle also don't look the best. The nose looks too far down when looked at from a straightforward angle as well. An issue I've heard about when it comes to the quality of the fur is that the markings lose their color over time. Washing a plushie fades them especially fast from what I've heard. Overall, I have to give the old plushies a B. I appreciate them, but I feel like the designs could be better. After the old plushies, we of course have the new plushies. I like the way the faces look a lot better than the old ones. Some people have criticized the printed on faces as looking cheaper, but I like them better than the square muzzles. I feel like the designs are a lot better than the old plushies. I think the designers were given way more time because they feel more like the characters. The only problem with the cats that we have seen in the new plushie style so far is that Ravenpaw has cheek fluff whilst Graystripe doesn't have any, and I feel like that should be swapped, as Graystripe is typically a more fluffy character than Ravenpaw. They also feel a lot harder when squeezed than the old plushies were, which makes them more durable but also a lot less fun to throw against the wall for instance, because you'd be afraid of leaving a hole, and it also makes them less huggable. I like the designs more than the old plushies, so they get an A, but I wish they were softer. Now, you may have wondered, why is the title Strange Warrior Cats merch? Everything so far has been normal. I mean, it's just been the two types of plushies. But the Warrior Cats store, if you go past the first page, features some strange merch, as the title suggests. As the next product featured are the hair scrunchies. The hair scrunchies are a recent addition to the merch collection, and I really do not like them. First of all, a metal clasp is a bad idea when it comes to a scrunchie. It will pull out so much hair and hurt a lot. Second of all, the clasp is bare on one side. That is a waste of space. A clan symbol could have been added on that side. Yellow for ThunderClan, green for WindClan, etc. instead of it being blank. On the other sides, it says Warrior Cats copyright WP. Was the copyright WP really necessary? A 9-year-old does not know who Working Partners is, nor do they care except when they're cursing them out for not making their favorite ships canon. All in all, I don't think that a lot of thought was put into the scrunchies. I believe that they were made in order to take advantage of a trend of metal scrunchies, which will soon fade away. This product gets a solid D. I really hated the hair scrunchies, so in order to counteract the negativity, I'm going to feature a product I really like, the cat backpack. You've likely never heard of it, but it seriously exists, and it is an official product. and it even comes in 2 colors. Personally, I think that the fact that they made a Warrior Cats product dedicated to cats is really cool. I think that they should make even more cat stuff with Warriors designs, as the series is literally about cats. The backpack seems comfortable to wear and even has a water bottle holder on the side. However, a cat backpack isn't about the comfort of a person, it's about the comforts of a cat. My biggest concern when it comes to a cat backpack is overheating and problems breathing due to improper ventilation. However, the backpack has some vents which will hopefully help the cat get some air. I have never used a cat backpack, nor have I ever owned a cat, though I do have a special connection with my college campus cats. So take my opinion on this one with a grain of salt. But I'm gonna rank this as an S because it's a Warrior Cats official cat backpack. That's just a cool thing. Now we have the next big category, the minis, or as I like to call them, the root of all evil in the Warrior Cats merch store. The minis are obviously inspired by Funko Pops, a display figure company that the most annoying person you know is no doubt absolutely obsessed with. Such as with the old plushies, the minis are rather hit or miss. Sometimes they look exactly like you imagined a character to be. Other times they look very strange. The biggest problem that I have with them in general is that they look super busy. Since a lot of the products in the store are based on minis, the problems trickle down into them, something that I will discuss more later. However, when the errands get designs right, they really do hit. Darktail, Rock, and Soul have to be my favorites. With some of the other minis, they include items that are iconic to characters, like Ravenpaw having an adder in his mouth and Jayfeather with his stick. Since the minis are not meant to be played with and instead collected and displayed, you would assume that they would display well. However, many of the minis are incredibly off balance, especially the wider head ones such as Cloudtail. I find the way that they choose to pair up cats confusing at times. Mothwing and Hawkfrost being together, I understand, they are siblings. However, why are Firestar and Leafstar grouped together, even though his mate was released in the same series? Never mind that, why was Leafstar in the first series of minis to be released? She's not that important of a character. I wish that you could just buy the minis separately because the pairings make so little sense. If I dislike Spotted Leaf, why should I have to buy a pack with her in it just so I can have Frost on? Overall, the minis get a C. I like what we have, but there's so much room for improvement that I cannot justify giving them a higher grade than the old plushies. Next up, we have the Warrior Cats earrings, I guess. Whose idea was this? Who is asking for this? Especially with the mini designs? The photos aren't flattering. The distance shot shows just how crowded the design looks from afar. I don't know why they included such a terrible photo. This earrings thing could have been forgiven if they just used a cat head, but adding the body, I don't know, makes it look somewhat creepy and tacky. This is an easy F. Now we have shirts on them which have a mini on them plus a quote. Aside from being lazy, I can hardly understand why the errands chose the quotes that they did. First of all, there is rather plain, I am Scourge, featuring Scourge, which gives off the same energy as I am Steve. Next, we have this one, which was featured in one of my previous videos. That video is titled Firestar x Graystripe, shockingly canon, and it features Firestar and Graystripe's minis, plus the quote, Graystripe, I will always be your friend. Once again I ask, why would you feature this shirt if not to highlight that Fire Gray is more than just a friendship? I don't understand why they chose the quotes that they did. If you have to do a quote shirt, you should make it an iconic line at least, such as, I promise to follow the warrior code, may the stars light your path, or even kill me. Kill me until the stars that you won. Anything besides what's above. I have to give the mini shirts a solid D. Mugs. Yet another lazy item. The majority of the mugs feature reused stuff from the shirts collection, which are just reused minis. Some of them have a mini and then the characters' names throughout their existence, and others are just book covers. However, there's one unique one that has a special place in my heart. That is the Brightheart mug. It's a mug, not with Brightheart's face, but a mug that is Brightheart's head. I really like the sculpt of it. For that, I mean, they did not use her mini model or anything like that. I really like the semi-realistic style that they decided to use for the mug. But I have one complaint. The mug looks impossible to drink out of. The rim goes way too far up and encloses around the cup. In order to drink from the cup, you likely have to lean it pretty far back. Far enough for it to rise over your nose and then spill everywhere. Though the Bright Heart mug is a good concept, its major flaw brings it down. I have to give the mugs overall a solid C. Finally, we have an item that I feel like I could order and actually wear, the Warrior Cat's beanie. The only problem is I'd never buy it from the Warrior store, because I've seen the concept of a cat beanie be done better elsewhere. The main problem that I have with the Warrior Cat's beanie is the ears. The ears jut out at really strange angles and it just throws me off. Plus, the Warrior Cat's logo is asymmetrical, throwing off the beanie even further. I can get a similar concept for way cheaper elsewhere. Just like the Bright Heart mug, it's really cool in concept, but in reality, a lot is left to be desired. I'm going to have to place this in B category. Now we have this charm bracelet featuring the iconic clan symbols. They're more inspired by the old symbols than the new symbols, though they have a lot more lines than the old symbols did. I feel like the symbols are pretty charming and they don't have any flaws. I could actually see myself wearing this out and about, and because of that, this product is a rare S. And we are back to the mini slop with another charm bracelet. With this bracelet, you can buy different charms at a Warrior Cat's minis to put on it. You already know my opinion on the minis. The errands need to stop using them for everything, their designs are overcrowded, etc. Making the minis metallic silver makes no sense, as you can't identify which cat each is supposed to be without their colors. Quick, I want you to guess what cat this is. Have your answer locked in? Well, it's Leaf Star, but you wouldn't know that by looking at her. What's strange is that the errands have a perfectly fine charm bracelet with the clan symbols as charms, but they also decide to make this gaudy bracelet for some reason. The charm bracelet receives an F from me. I wanted to end things on a high note, so we are going to be talking about the RiverClan beach towel. I think that this is a fun product because RiverClan cats swim in the water, so having a beach towel with RiverClan symbols on it is very fitting. I like it for the exact same reason as the Warrior Cat's cat backpack. It leans in on the brand instead of lazily copying old content like the minis and the book covers. I feel like Warrior Cats need to actually lean into their brand more and make more specialized content. Maybe produce some hoodies with cat ears on them, or an official Scorch choker. That would be sick as hell. The RiverClan beach towel is a solid A in my eyes. And here's the final ranking for all the merch. Do you agree or disagree with my rankings? How do you rank the items? Comment down below. And also, if there's anything else you would want to see me review, then comment down below as well. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make animal fiction videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who are already subscribed, thank you so much for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.